Today's video is about common problems that causes Premiere Pro to lag in the timeline. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the most common problems I've come across in Adobe Premiere Pro and why it lags in the media browser and solutions to those problems so you guys can get back to what's important, and that's creating content. Alright, so let's get into the video. So within Premiere Pro, the very first thing I'll check is I go to Edit and I go to Preferences, and then I'll check my media cache. Under the media cache files menu, you want to make sure you set your location of your drive to a fast drive, so an SSD optimally. So checking these two locations are away from your main project on a separate drive. If you'd like a good recommendation for a good fast external hard drive that's pretty good price for the money, I'll leave an affiliate link down below so you can check that out if you're interested in picking one up for yourself. And what you can do as well, if you have this set on a C drive or somewhere you don't want it, you can just hit delete and delete the cache files that you don't want to use for this project. I'm just going to leave this for this one because I don't need to. So you can delete it, and you can also browse that folder and delete those cache files manually. This doesn't affect your footage, it won't delete your footage, it only deletes the previews that it generates. So Adobe Premiere Pro, when you load it up, it loads faster and it runs those previews quicker. So that could be jamming up your C drive, which is clogging up your computer. Make sure to check your Windows C drives to make sure these are set to a different drive that has enough storage and enough speed to actually accommodate for Adobe Premiere Pro. The next thing I want to check is your memory and how much memory you're allocating for Adobe Premiere Pro. So on this system I have 15.9 gig, and the reserved RAM for other applications is 5 gig that I've left for it. So I have 10 gig of RAM for Adobe Premiere Pro. So you want to allocate as much RAM to Adobe Premiere Pro as possible so it can work alright, but enough for other applications. You don't want to leave it with nothing. And to make sure they set optimized rendering to performance, not memory. Another tab here you want to check that a lot of people overlook is your audio hardware. A lot of people overlook updating their drivers for the audio or looking in this tab and making sure that these are set to your actual audio outputs. Some quick things you may or may not know is you can obviously change the quality to either full, half, quarter, and that just lowers the quality of this playback, which sometimes with bigger footage that can help speed up the timeline. Also, if you have different types of footage with different frame rates and different sort of sizes and everything, resolutions, one thing you can do is you can drag, say this was a different frame rate, you can drag the two different footages down to this new item down here, and it'll drag it to a new timeline. So you've got these two different timelines right here, and then you can swap between the two timelines. One of the biggest things that I always use with like bigger projects, like higher quality footage, is using proxies, which is this little button right here. If you don't have this proxy button here, you can press this plus button right over here, and you can just click this one and click OK, and then you can add this proxy button down here. To make a proxy for your footage, you want to right click the footage, and then you want to go down to proxy, and you want to go create proxy. And you can just set up the destination where you want your proxies to go. I set them where my cache usually goes, on the external hard drive, which I was talking about before. Then media encoder will automatically start up. It'll just start to process and render that footage. So as the proxy renders, it's going to render out at 1280 by 720 at 60 frames. Now you can see that it says attached on that proxy. What you can do is you can drag that footage down to a new item, and now this footage will be rendered out at a lower resolution to edit in. And with the proxy, it will scrub and play within the timeline a lot quicker because it's using that lower quality resolution to process the footage. And once you go to export that, it'll just export the full quality footage that you want at the end anyway, so it doesn't affect the quality. So if your system still freezes up after trying all these things, there's one last thing I can show you that might help solve the problem. This is one thing I had to do for another project that actually inspired the video, that I hadn't had this issue before. But what it is to do with these hover scrubs and these thumbnails of your footage. So what you can do is you can turn them off. So if you right click up here, you can turn your hover scrub and then change this to list format and turn off thumbnails. And that should solve the problem. It did for me on one of my projects. I haven't had that problem before, but for some reason that's fixed the problem. So I guess if you want those features back, you can just start a new project, but that may be the solution for you. Hopefully this video helps solve some of your problems, and if it did, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also check out the playlist up in the cards up there if you want some tips on how to export your footage for gaming video. I've done a few videos, I'll leave a playlist up there so you guys can check that out. Also leave a comment with your problems if you have any issues. I'm happy to help you out. On my previous videos, I always jump in the comments and help you guys try and get your problem solved out as quick as possible. So yeah, just send me a message on there, and if you have any issues, I'm happy to help. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.